This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Kidnapped teenage boys released amid frantic efforts to rescue hundreds of newly abducted girls in Nigeria. We update you on efforts to distribute COVID-19 vaccines in Africa. And how a young woman in Somalia is finding a strong footing in the male-dominated taxi driving sector. Hello and welcome to Africa Live. As always, great to have you with us. I'm Richard Nta, live in Nairobi. And for those of you joining us from across the continent and around the globe, we thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at other stories making headlines this hour. We get you more reactions from Africa after China's milestone poverty reduction success. And in sports, St. Anthony's Kitale becomes Football Kenya's federation's first center of excellence. Once again, welcome to Africa Live. So good to have you with us. We begin with some positive developments in Nigeria. 27 kidnapped schoolboys have been seen walking with armed security through a dusty village, some struggling to stand and asking for water. This is after abductors released them along with 3 staff and 12 family members on Saturday morning. Reports say the boys are aged between 15 and 18. Last week, unidentified gunmen stormed a government science secondary school in Kagara district of Niger State. The armed gang overwhelmed the school's security guards, and one boy was killed during the raid. All right, Deji Badmus has been following that story from Lagos. Deji Badmus, welcome to Africa Live. We appreciate your company. Deji, let me begin by asking you, talk to us about the positive developments in Nigeria coming amid rising security concerns. What more can you tell us about the freed abductees in Niger State?
Well, Richard, what I can tell you is that the governor has finally met with the boys. When the boys were released, they were actually taken into a facility where they underwent medical treatment. So the governor has now met with them briefly at Government House, and the governor now, and he's addressed the press over the issue. He said the boys, the boys and of course the staff were released at about 4 a.m. Today. And then we have a clearer picture now of the number of persons who were actually abducted. 38 of them, and not the 41 that had been widely reported. So we have 24 students, 6 staff, and 8 relatives of their staff. So all 38 of them have been released. One of them, unfortunately, was not able to meet with the governor. We understand he's ill and had been in the hospital. But then the governor confirmed that it was a joint effort between the military and traditional rulers, and that he also got some other people involved, and they were able to secure the release of the boys. He did confirm that the boys now and of course the staff were actually tortured, and you could actually tell some of them could actually not talk when they were asked questions. So he did confirm that they were tortured, and then he went on to say that he's going to start a process to look at the cause of the kidnapping, and then he's going to put in place what he says a system now to ensure that such kidnapping doesn't happen again. So everyone is waiting to see what the governor would do next as to preventing this from happening again. But again, clear confirmation, 38 persons released, so 38 of them were actually kidnapped, 24 students, 6 staff, and 8 relatives, and all of them have been released. One, of course, is still in the hospital receiving treatment. Richard?
And Deji, do we know how those kidnapped from Kagara regained their freedom, and was any ransom payment involved, Deji?
That's one question everyone wanted to ask the governor, and he did speak about it. He said no ransom was paid, but he said money was spent on logistics, the logistics to get the security agents in the state and to get them to move around, and then to get those traditional rulers as well to come in and broadcast some kind of deal. So, but in terms of ransom, he said no money exchanged hands, and that's just about it. But well, we just have to take the word of the governor. So no ransom was paid. He said this was essentially as a result of the effort of the military and especially the traditional rulers, who he said actually played a very, very important role now in convincing these bandits to release their abductees now.
All right, Deji Badmus, important information that you've just shared with us. Deji, I want to put you on hold for just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back with you for further insights. Moving on, well, amid that positive development in Nigeria, the fate of many others who have recently been abducted remains unknown. More than 300 schoolgirls were the latest to be kidnapped in the northwest Nigerian state of Zamfara. The rising insecurity in northwestern Nigeria has been condemned by the United Nations, and Nigerians are now working to get their children safely home. Tuli Shabalala has more.
In a midnight raid on Friday, unidentified gunmen kidnapped 317 schoolgirls in the northwestern Nigerian state of Zamfara. Police say they came with vehicles and moved the students from the government girls' secondary school in Jangebe town. Eyewitnesses say nearby villagers tried to stone the two vehicles they were in. Reports say at least 50 students escaped and were taken home.
As we tried to get out, we were overwhelmed, and when we fired, they fired back. We continued to fight them, and all of a sudden, they retreated. One of them left his motorcycle to escape. That's when we thought we were going to defeat them. Then we were told to go home. And now, as I speak to you, soldiers are in the bush fighting with them.
The Zamfara State Police, in collaboration with the military, are on a joint search and rescue operation. Distraught parents gathered at the school, desperate for news about their children.
We are praying the girls to come back safely. That's all. The government, they are doing their best. We don't know what they are doing, but we know that they are doing their best by now.
This is the second school attack in little over a week. Heavily armed criminal gangs, known locally as bandits, in northwest and central Nigeria have stepped up attacks in recent years, kidnapping for ransom. The United Nations Secretary General has strongly condemned the abductions.
The Secretary General condemns in the strongest possible terms and called for their immediate and unconditional release. As we've said before, schools should always remain a safe space to learn without fear of violence. A full statement will be coming shortly from the Secretary General on this. And according to UNICEF in Nigeria, the latest attack happened overnight in the government girls' secondary school in Jangebe in northwest Nigeria. Peter Hawkins, the UNICEF representative in Nigeria, called on those responsible to release the girls immediately and for the government to take steps to ensure their safe release and the safety of other school children in the country.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari says government's primary objective is to get all the school hostages returned safe, alive and unharmed. He called on state governments to review their policy of making payments in money or vehicles to bandits. Tuli Shabalala, CGTN.
Once again, let's bring back our CGTN correspondent in Lagos, Deji Badmus. Deji, I have one more question for you, if you would indulge me. What measures are being put in place to rescue the hundreds of abducted girls in Zamfara state?
Well, Richard, look, there's a massive rescue operation going on at the moment, a military operation at that. Helicopters have been sent in there. You have military planes have also been sent in there. You have troops have been sent in there as well. the police and what have you. They've all been sent in there, and what we're learning at the moment is that that operation is going on at the moment. But look, let me tell you something, Richard, that would also be taking place at this moment. There would be behind-the-scene talks, because what we're gathering is that the authorities in Zamfara state have been able to establish and identify the group of bandits now who carried out this attack. They've been able to locate where, that's what we're learning, that they've been able to locate where the girls are being kept in the forest. And so there is some kind of talk going on now behind the scene. But apart from those talks, the military is also conducting an operation there. We don't know how long this is going to take, but what we have been told is that, look, very soon that all of this would be over. The governor has expressed confidence that he would get to the bottom of this. Don't also forget that we're talking about a governor who has been, who has rolled out an amnesty program for bandits, and has actually been talking to other governors in the north to emulate him, adopt his strategy of talking, dialoguing with the bandits. And just the day before, actually, some bandits actually surrendered their weapons, and they were granted amnesty. So it's quite a surprise that this attack would happen in his state. So the governor is giving everyone the assurance that he would ensure that the girls are released safe, but then that military operation is still going on, and that's what we've gathered at the moment. Richard?
All right, Deji Badman, thank you for keeping a close eye on this story. We appreciate your insight and analysis. Deji Badman speaking to us live from Lagos. And to other news, the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it will put extra effort along with member states to persuade more people across the continent to take the COVID-19 vaccines. The director of the Africa CDC, John Nkengasong, says the continent needs to have at least 60% of the population vaccinated. But efforts to reach this herd immunity level have been hampered by those who still question the safety and efficacy of the vaccines.
It is absolutely normal that when people are faced with a situation and a scenario where there's fear, there's insecurity, they tend to resist change. So it is up to us in public health, together with the media like you, and the civil society and the community, to work together in the spirit of the wholeness of society to address the issues that will enable us overcome this whole issue of vaccine hesitancy. It is there. It is not new. It has been there before COVID-19. It has further been complicated by social media, those messages that we receive through different fora. But we need to fight that, because if we do not vaccinate up to that level, there's at least 60% of our continent. Trust me, we will be known as the continent of COVID going forward.
In West Africa, Sierra Leone has received the donation of COVID-19 vaccines from China. The first batch of the jabs from the China National Pharmaceutical Group will be administered to health workers in the country. The vaccines were received at the Lungi International Airport in Freetown by the Chinese ambassador to Sierra Leone and officials from the health ministry. All right, time now for a short break. Don't go away. Here's a look at what's ahead. We get you more reaction from Africa after China's milestone poverty reduction success. And the inspiring story of a young woman in Somalia excelling in a male-dominated taxi driving sector.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back to Africa Live. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the complete eradication of poverty in China was the main goal announced by President Xi Jinping at the end of 2012. At that time, about 100 million people in China were poor. To implement the goals, the Chinese government released a 5-year plan from 2016 to 2020 for poverty eradication and crafted various strategies, including the Targeted Poverty Relief Strategy. This achievement has been applauded by the Tanzanian poverty reduction stakeholders.
But in any case, I see opportunities to learn from others, to learn from a country like China that have succeeded to eradicate poverty more recently. So there are definitely some experiences that we can learn and replicate. Initiatives like those of increasing productivity for farmers, how to use and strengthen township and village enterprises through public-private partnerships, which is possible in the context where we can use the local economic development approach supported by strengthening the local government authorities.
The achievement of China in ending extreme poverty is a lesson to the rest of the world. Tanzania has also been investing in rural infrastructure and agriculture subsidies in an attempt to reduce poverty in the country. Researchers there say China's milestone achievement brings more experience to African policymakers on poverty reduction.
It's not an easy task for any country. That's why there are still poor people even in the countries that are very advanced with very high per capita income, because it's not a very straightforward task. You need a lot of course, investments. You need strategies that are very inclusive and pro-poor. But also you need a very consistent interventions. You need very strong leadership which is uninterrupted in its goals, and therefore it's not a very easy task, especially when you have a country with a very large population.
South African lawmakers also say a lot can be learned from China's poverty alleviation strategies.
Firstly, congratulate the Chinese president on his leadership in eradicating poverty in China, specifically in the rural part of China. And I want to say that I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn as South Africa, because our rural poor is really a very, very big problem to many of us. I think it's important to look at poverty as another disease. And when you have poverty in a country, no one can be free. And so we're very happy, and we want to learn some of the lessons that's been used in China, where they have eradicated 70% of the poverty in the world is happened almost in China.
Nigeria's National Television Authority Entertainment Channel recently gave its audience a visual treat. On February the 24th, local time, the stations aired this year's CCTV Spring Festival Gala. It was said to be the most watched TV show in the world. Nigerians had a feast of music, dance, acrobatics, and kung fu performances. This presented a first-hand opportunity to get a deeper understanding of Chinese traditions and culture.
I watched the Spring Festival, the gala performance. And the Chinese culture is a very colorful culture. And we saw how they are beautifully arranged. And we saw the precise ways. It's like, you know, calculating by the second the movements, you know, which is very, very amazing.
And on to Somalia now, where a young woman is transcending gender barriers. She is braving the challenges of operating in a male-dominated taxi driving industry. CGTN's Wanja Mongai tells us more.
When I was little, I was passionate about cars. I wanted to become a pilot one day. I didn't think of becoming a taxi driver in the beginning, but when the taxi company Recabo started last year, I decided to join it, especially because there weren't any female drivers at the time. I saw an opportunity.
Recap Taxi Company has close to 2,000 cabs in Mogadishu, but only 3 of them are driven by women.
The number of women who are taxi drivers was very low because of safety concerns. But since we launched the company, we have been recruiting more women.
Being a single mother, Asha is a breadwinner in her home. She provides for her 2 children and her elderly mother. Asha was a victim of early child marriage. She got married at the age of 16, but got divorced 3 years ago. Mogadishu is ranked among the most dangerous cities in the world due to frequent attacks by Al-Shabaab terror group. Somalia has experienced political turmoil since 1991 when President Siad Barre's military regime was overthrown. Since then, the country has not had a democratically elected president. Even the elections that were scheduled to take place in December last year have not been held due to a disagreement between the opposing sides. Despite all the challenges she faces, Asha is determined and driven to dispel the narrative that women cannot do well in male-dominated jobs.
Over these past months, I've been often using this taxi company, and even though this is usually seen as a man's job, today I prefer cabs driven by women. They're always on time and they are careful drivers.
With women like Asha braving new tasks, this could be a new dawn for young girls facing injustices like early child marriage and child labor. Wanjamungai, CGTN.
And we're not done just yet. We've got your sports segment coming up after the break. Here's a peek at the headline. Kenya's school games champion St. Anthony's Kitale becomes Football Kenya's federation's first center of excellence.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome into Sport on Africa Live. Reigning national and former East Africa secondary school champions St. Anthony's Kitale have become the first Football Kenya Federation's Center of Excellence in a 5-year deal. Now, under the agreement that runs until 2026, the FKF committed to offering the school's technical support, where its technical department will help in designing programs for both the elite football team and other students in school, as well as training the school's coaching staff. The school, on its part, will offer admission on a full scholarship basis for a minimum of 20 students in the first year and 5 students in each subsequent year during the duration the partnership selected through the FKF Youth Development Program. FKF Chief Executive Barry Otieno and St. Anthony's Principal Victor Makanda hailed the initiative.
It has been a long time coming. We decided to start with the St. Anthony's due to their history, 2018 East African champions, 2019 national champions. The great work they have done. We saw it fit to start here so as to underpin what they are doing, as well as partnering with them to develop football in the country.
We believe this partnership will go a long way in contributing to the development of football in this country. All stakeholders in the education sector will be pleased because this institution has been recognized as the school of football in this country.
And to the English Premier League we go. Manchester City moved 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League table after a 2-1 win over West Ham United on Saturday. Now, their 20th straight win in all competitions it was. City took the lead in the 30th minute with central defender Ruben Diaz heading in a Kevin De Bruyne cross, but the Hammers drew level through Mikel Antonio 2 minutes before the